there's a phrase that comes up a lot, casual cruelty. And this resonated so much with me, and I know it resonated with everybody. It will resonate with everyone who reads this, because that was one of the most shocking things that happened during this time. Can you
Yeah.
it,
That's how
tell me
I,
about
that,
casual cruelty?
that's how, that's the as you know, that's one of the chapters in my book. Everything that I experienced starting in 2020, when I was still taking care of patients in the hospital, just struck me that everybody around me was very cruel to people who were not empowered. And in my world, that meant the patient, right? So you had the doctors and the nurses and the staff, and then you had the patient, and the patient's always weak, without power. They're physically weak, they're emotionally weak, right? So the powerless person is the patient. And all of a sudden, for the first time in my life, you had the more powerful, the staff was just basically being cruel. Now, they weren't even being cruel on purpose. They were being cruel because their employers said, do various things. Don't let the family in. They have to be isolated. They have to be over here. You have to cover in plastic. You have to be all covered. And I remember thinking, we're being cruel and very casual about it. So one of the stories which you read was, an older woman in like 80s, and she came into the hospital, and it ended up being her. It wasn't COVID, but she died in the ER. And we were not allowed to let in her husband of 52 years and her adult children. We were told that was risking COVID. Karen, we were all walking around the ER. I mean, people walking in and out. I mean, it was ridiculous. You had paramedics coming in from outside. You had social workers. You had police officers. You had prisoners from, like, we had a prisoner contract coming in. But no, you're not allowed to let the family in. And I remember thinking, like, we're not even noticing how cruel we're being to people. And it reminded me of communism, because in communism, the individual doesn't matter. It's the collective. So if the collective rule was you can't let in people, then that's what we do. And never mind the fact that there's a bereaved husband and family that's crying. Who cares? It doesn't matter. They're roadkill. They're incidental. And that feeling of casual cruelty, I associate with communism. I've been to communist nations on trips, and it's what it was a feeling that it was a feeling that I had when I was in communist nations, and it was the only time I ever felt it in America was during COVID.